Muchísimos saludos a todas. Hola, hello, bonjour, bon dia, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you today about a topic that is dear to my heart, but most importantly is vital to our local and global economies, and that is inclusive innovation and inclusive entrepreneurship. And I want to thank the organizers of this event and all of you who are leading the way to make sure that people of all backgrounds, and especially women of all backgrounds, have a seat at the table, an opportunity to innovate and create opportunity for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. I'm speaking to you from my office at Georgia Tech, at the Georgia Institute of Technology, one of the world's premier technological research institutions. And here at Georgia Tech, we don't take our position lightly. We have a great responsibility because of the resources that we have. Our mission statement is to develop leaders who advance technology and improve the human condition. So we believe in technology and innovation, but not in their own for their own sake, but because the value they have in contributing to building a better society for all of us. Well, precisely because we believe that technology should be at the service of everybody, we know we cannot achieve that mission without working equally hard to open the doors of innovation to people of all backgrounds. Diversity of talents, of perspectives is essential to develop technologies that and innovations that work for all of us. We're working, therefore, to become an example of inclusive innovation, a place where men and women of all backgrounds can find a welcoming environment where they can build exciting new technologies and businesses and create economic opportunity. We know we cannot do that alone. We need to partner with others, but we also realize that we can make a pretty significant impact given our resources here in Atlanta, in our state, but also around the world. And that's why we engage in transdisciplinary collaborations with every sector at every level in different parts of the world to create capability and to encourage and inspire others to take action. Like the rest of the world, I know that women from Latin America and the Caribbean face significant challenges and an increasing participation gap across all socioeconomic, political, and cultural sectors. And by the way, that is not exclusive to Latin America and the Caribbean. Here in the United States, we're facing very similar issues. But because the focus is in Latin America and Caribbean, I'll just highlight the fact that female participation in the labor force is relatively low, and the gender gap in this area and the region is actually one of the highest in the world. We know that the number of women participating in the labor force, even though it has increased, it was very low. It was about 20% in the 60s, and then it reached 60% in the early 2000s. It's now, I think, around 65%. So it's sort of plateauing around 65%. That compares to more than 80% for men. And this gap in labor force participation has only been hurt by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many women in the region, and again, that is also being observed right here in the United States, have had to spend a lot more time on non-remunerated tasks, taking care of families and the like, as compared to men, which has even hurt the women's participation in the labor force. Women tend to find themselves in jobs of lower salary and quality compared to men. And these trends stem from both occupational segregation, if you will, and educational segregation. So on the occupational segregation, women are mainly employed and tend to be employed in the care sector, such as health, education, and domestic service, essential occupations, but that they tend to pay less than other occupations. And that occupational segregation in part is related to educational segregation, where women are significantly less likely to study careers in science and technology and engineering, which normally lead to higher salaries. And that's one of the reasons why at Georgia Tech we're working very, very hard to increase the number of women in our engineering and computing programs, and we have declared that as one of our top strategic objectives. We're right now around 40% at Georgia Tech of our students are women. In normal sort of multidisciplinary or comprehensive universities, women tend to be more than half. In a technological university like ours, we're about to reach 40%. Well, in the Caribbean, women make up only 30% of graduates in STEM, in science, technology, and engineering careers. And that helps perpetuate a vicious cycle that excludes women from the employment benefits of technological innovation, and also excludes women from being drivers of technological innovation, something we absolutely have to come together to address and to change. Women STEM entrepreneurs are making huge strides and producing a pretty big impact. We know that when given an opportunity, women can really transform companies and industries. In 2019, the Inter-American Development Bank, in their We Exchange program, they did a survey for Latin America and the Caribbean, and they collected, I think, over 1,000 responses, and 400 of them from women who are entrepreneurs in STEM fields, who are doing new things in technology and the like. So these women STEM co-founders in Latin America and the Caribbean have been increasing in the last 5 years. That's very good news, especially because these again tend to be very male-dominated sectors like fintech and financial technology, which tends to be very male heavy. 70% of women STEM entrepreneurs in Latin America and the Caribbean measure impact and align their missions with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The women entrepreneurs and founders tend to exhibit a deeper sensitivity and interest in and responsibility towards issues, socioeconomic issues that affect all of us. So again, their success is going to translate even more directly into their success of those around them. 54% of Latin American and Caribbean women were successful in raising angel or venture capital, and almost 80% plan on scaling up their company internationally in the next 5 years. So what is clear is when given opportunities, women can really be leaders of companies and industries and transform entire economies. However, as we know, and this community knows very personally, women entrepreneurs still face very important obstacles. 46% of Latin American and Caribbean women entrepreneurs have dependents, and they're part of society that has very high expectations in terms of their dedication to their families and their dependents. Women access to finance seems to be the biggest challenge of all, and seem to be the number one frustration in the survey. For almost 60% of women entrepreneurs cited access to finance as one of their biggest concerns, and 51% attributed this challenge to the lack of access to key investors, connections, social capital. We know that at the end of the day, the world of finance is driven not just by the quality of ideas, but also who what those connections are. If the existing organizations are driven by men, it creates an additional difficulty for women to create those connections. And that's why, by the way, organizations like this and events like this are essential to build that social capital and that connectivity. In the US, the number of new companies started by women of color has increased a lot. It has increased by 500% over the last 20 years. But remember, that is an increase over a very, very small base. And on average, 260 African-American women and over 200 Latin women have opened new businesses each day. So there is action, there is improvement, although I would argue that it's still insufficient and very slow. Women of color account for nearly 90% of new women-owned business each year. African American women, who are only make up 13.7% of all women in the U.S. and yet account for roughly 21% of women-owned firms. Women are the majority of the newly self-employed. Throughout history, women have accounted for about 25% of the self-employed, and now they're more than 58%. So there's some good indications of trends. Some of that, by the way, some of those increases are positive. They reflect better access for women and people of color to capital and entrepreneurship. Some of that is driven by necessity, by need. So not all of that. I mean, those numbers actually cover very complex dynamics. So it is clear for us that making entrepreneurship more inclusive is good for everybody. It's not just the right thing to do. It's not just the moral thing to do, to provide opportunities to everybody, equal opportunities to everybody. It's actually good for society at large. We need more women. We need actually people of diverse backgrounds to make sure that those innovations, those new products, the next Facebook, the next Google, that those products really cater to the needs of everybody. So because it's such an important issue for us, let me tell you a little bit about what we've done here in Atlanta. In 2020, Georgia Tech's Enterprise Innovation Institute invested more than $750 million in Georgia companies. We help entrepreneurs, whether they come from Georgia Tech or maybe members of our community. We advise them, we support them. We help them access sources of financing. That has led these companies to create or save about 30,000 jobs. They have helped create almost, actually more than 1,000 startups, and they add up to billions of dollars, almost $4 billion in economic value. Since these efforts launched in 2014, we launched a program called CreateX, which is our flagship student entrepreneurship program. CreateX tries to inspire students to become entrepreneurs, to help them think that not only you can get a good job after Georgia Tech, but that many of them may be able to create successful companies. Well, CreateX has helped more than 5,000 students found more than 300 companies and raise over $150 million in capital and generate over $200 million in revenue. So it's been a big success. And even though the American startup scene is notable for its lack of diversity, again, these issues are not just exclusive to Latin America and the Caribbean. America suffers similar gaps. In our programs, 46% of CreateX founders and co-founders are women, almost half of them, and 21% are Black or Hispanic. And we are working to keep those numbers rising. But what that shows is that when you bring people, when you reach out and give people opportunity and train them and give connections and inspire them, the results are there. So we're very, very proud of what we have accomplished so far, but we are committed to continue to work in that direction. Also, we have some very important partnerships, and we're very proud of our work in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I'll just give you a couple of examples, but we launched we worked with partners in Puerto Rico, and we launched an entrepreneurship bootcamp under the name Innovation Core Puerto Rico, ICPR. We did it with the Puerto Rico Science and Technology Trust and a non-for-profit group called Grupo Guayacán, with support from the U.S. Economic Development Administration. This program is modeled after the National Science Foundation Innovation Core, which we normally call I-Core program. And what it does is it trains entrepreneurs to validate the feasibility of their businesses through real-time customer feedback. This ICPR that we helped set up in Puerto Rico was the first I-Core program that was made available to the community, not just NSF-funded teams, but and the first offered to a predominantly Latin and Hispanic culture, jointly taught in English and in Spanish. Since the first cohort that happened in 2015, ICPR has graduated 11 more cohorts, 180 entrepreneurial teams, more than 650 individual participants. Again, this program is gathering momentum and doing a good job. And some of the best success stories of the program are they show the power of women entrepreneurs. Sune Labs is a clean energy startup that designs innovative solar energy products. This is a great example. It was founded by a husband and wife duo, Jose Lebron and Sheila Torres. Sheila is the co-founder and executive director. And they grew up in Puerto Rico. They went to college on the island, and they earned doctorates in New York. And their first product on the market was a small solar water heater that saves about 30% on energy bills. Again, think about not just a successful company, but one that is addressing a very important social need and being responsible in with the environment. So very, very proud of that program. We've also been working in Colombia since 2017. We have the Georgia Tech Enterprise Innovation Institute has partnered with the National Association of Chambers of Commerce of Colombia, Confecámaras. And the Colombia Productiva is a program from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Tourism, and jointly with the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And this collaboration initially was to assess services that can be made available to small and medium enterprises in 4 different cities in Colombia. But then it resulted in what we call Fábricas de Productividad, which is Colombia's first national technology extension service and a flagship public-private initiative to promote the productivity and competitiveness of small and medium enterprises. These Fábricas de Productividad address public policy, strategic advice, capacity building, and knowledge transfer, but not just in Bogota, but as I said, in other different cities. Very proud of that work, and of course we're always looking forward to doing what we can. But let me close by highlighting not just the fact that there are places like Georgia Tech who are committed to creating environments where men and women of all backgrounds build exciting new technologies and businesses, but to highlight why we do that and why it is essential that we do that, and the reason again is not just to build a more equitable society where everybody has access to the same opportunities, but because it is absolutely essential for our new technologies to work for all of us, and to provide opportunity for all of us, that underrepresented minorities, and very importantly, women, are given the tools, the access to be drivers of innovation and entrepreneurship. And that's why I am delighted to be with you today. I want to give my special thanks to Harbin Arora, the global director of the Women Economic Forum, Johanna Salgado, the director of the WEF Caribbean, and the members of the board of directors of this organization, and everybody who's contributed to this event and who's working so hard to build a better, more inclusive future for Latin America and the Caribbean. Y para todos los que están viendo esto desde lejos, pues muchísimas gracias por su atención, por todo el trabajo que están haciendo y su dedicación a este tema que es tan importante y tan vital para el futuro de todos nosotros. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much to everybody. Obrigado.